Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in, wherever you're watching or listening to the podcast. Please continue to follow the podcast on all social media platforms, starting on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That's all one word. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Social Work Rants. And Facebook, hit the like button, type in the Social Work Rants podcast, hit the like button. Also, YouTubers, please hit the red subscribe button, and like the video, share it, rate the podcast on all other platforms. Really appreciate all the love and support. Gracias a todos por su apoyo. I really appreciate it, and continue to tap in. There's a lot of great content. If you open-minded and willing to learn, during Social Work Month, you're gonna learn today. So, a lot of great guests lined up for this month, and we're gonna be talking about a lot of different things. Some things that are not talked about in social work schools. So, and continue not to be talked about in social work school, but it's important. So we're going to talk about it. So, besides that, again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching, listening. And I appreciate any feedback possible. Before I continue, disclaimer, this podcast is not a substitute for mental health therapy, for counseling. It's only for educational purposes only. If you need assistance, dial 988 or go to your nearest emergency room, seek help, seek treatment. Or for out of the country folks, whatever your emergency services are, please contact your emergency services for assistance. That being said, please make sure you get a copy of my book, Trying Through Pain, How to Maximize Your Full Potential During Hard Times, available on Amazon. Appreciate those who have bought the book. If you have bought the book, please rate it on Amazon. Would really appreciate it. And also get your copy of Latinx and Social Work Volume 2. I'm one of the contributing authors, the Amazon #1 bestseller, Latinx and Social Work Volume 2. So, speaking of Latinx and Social Work Volume 2, this week's episode features the summit that took place. Thanks to Conecta Center, Dr. Letty, who and her staff ran the conference. We had a great time. It was a great turnout. This week's episode features my chapter, When Addiction Hits Home. I talked a little bit about my chapter and read an insert from my chapter. So that's this week's episode. And along with, we talk about cultural wealth and ways to display it in the workforce. So I share ways, at least some of the ways that I do in the workplace. So that's this week's episode. So after this spiel that I'm doing right now, you're going to see or hear the clip of the video. But before we go into that, Sunday, March 19th, come join me and Portia Ross, who's a social worker in Baltimore. She's been on the podcast recently. And together we're doing a collaboration for Social Work Month, Zumba, for my company, Bass City Entertainment. So it's $7 a person. Proceeds go to March for Babies. So we're giving back to our community, giving back to you, the social worker, mental health professional that does amazing things in the field. And let's practice some self-care together. It's $7 a person. Again, it's Sunday, March 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As we Zumba folks like to say, New York, Delaware time. We gotta be very specific with the time. We can't just say Eastern Standard Time. So 12 p.m. It's Sunday, the 19th. Hope you join me for join us for Zumba as my first collaboration for these events, and continue to bust out these monthly events. So again, please join me. I would really appreciate it. So a lot of great things are happening later this month. And also March 30th, I will be one of these speakers for the Latinx and social work author virtual talks that's happening. So make sure you follow, because I will share out the link as soon as I get it, and be posting on all the on all social media. So I hope you'll tune in for that. So every month, the authors of the Latinx and Social Volume 2 will be doing virtual talks talking about portions of their chapters in the book. So now on to the summit that took place in Dallas. Hope you enjoy.
Before I start with my chapter, I want to let you guys know that I do have a table, and I'm selling my poetry book, Trying Through the Pain, How to Maximize the Full Potential During Hard Times. It was written during the heart of the pandemic, after losing over 10 clients and my mom during the same time period from COVID-19, while living in New York City and working with the geriatric population, and also celebrating my wins. Became a first-time homeowner during the pandemic, moving to a new state, moving to Delaware from New York, and the assimilation of the Delaware way, and working and all that good stuff. So it's $15. It's Cash App, Square, you name it. I got it. My wife is manning the table. She's actually doing recording me right now, but come support. It's also available on Amazon and paperback. Obviously, it's 30 pages front and back, and also on Kindle, and later on this year, it'll be on Audible as well. And also, I want a special shout out to my favorite women's college basketball team since this March Madness, SMU women's basketball team. And I shout them out only because to shout out to the head coach, my fellow Manhattan College alum, Toya Wilson. So good luck next week against Houston. So my chapter starts on page 231 on the English version. I'm going to be reading from pages 233 to 235, where it says traumatic summary. By the time my chapter is based off from 2009, after my son was born, to 2016. So during that time frame, I was living in New Jersey, in Hackensack, for 8 years, living in Newark for 1 year, working in Queens in an outpatient mental health clinic, actually 2 outpatient mental health clinics. In 2014, I had 3 different social work jobs. Moved back by time 2014, later 2014 happened, moved back to the Bronx from New Jersey. So you gotta read the chapter to get all the juicy details. By the time 2014 came around, Erica, who was my first wife, Erica Lizette Moreno, may she rest in peace, had already resumed her addiction to beer. A 24-pack would be gone within 2 days. Our mutual friend had been staying with us. The kids referred him as their uncle. He helped me make sure that the kids were safe. It was basically the only support I had. By April 2014, Erica had finally to do a detox. I don't remember, but I think I had used my vacation days to stay home while she was in rehab. A month later, she had relapsed and agreed to go to a 28-day program. Prior to her going to her inpatient stay, I had took my LMSW exam for the 3rd time. I failed again. In my career, I always looked at what's next. I I knew passing the exam would help me move up in my career, even looking into becoming a supervisor somewhere. Whatever free time I had, I managed to make time to study for the test. It was hard making time while working and being home, caring for both my wife and my kids. A few weeks later, I had gotten laid off from working at an outpatient mental health clinic in Queens. Erica came home from rehab, and I had to share the news of my layoff with her. The layoff came at the worst possible time. Luckily, I found a new job rather quickly. However, I had to take a pay cut because I wasn't licensed. The rehab didn't help. Erica resumed her drinking. When I was first hired at the new job, I was informed that I had 6 months to take the LMSW exam or risk possible termination. It was a prerequisite for taking the job. I was not in the state of mind to even try to study for the exam. I decided to look for another job. When June came, I was now dealing with a personal child welfare case and seeking at minimum joint custody of my kids. Every night for the rest of the summer, I would come home to an empty home. Erica was in rehab, and our friend had moved in with his family. The children were living with their maternal grandparents, and their mom with my permission while the investigation by CPS was taking place. Weekends during the summer of 2014 was my time to spend with the kids. Erica and I agreed to joint custody, and the agreement was made for the kids to stay at her parents' house in New Jersey for that summer. The kids and I would go to Mets games, take Staten Island ferry trips, or just finding something to do on a budget. It wasn't easy, especially since I was bringing home less take-home pay. A few weeknights, I would visit the kids after work to spend time with them and to make sure that they were okay. Parenting became that much harder. I went from being with the kids constantly to only a few hours on nights and weekends. The following month, another mutual friend of ours died by suicide, which added to the compounded trauma going on in my life. I had spoken to my friend just 2 days prior. He had no signs of suicidal ideation. I think back to our last conversation. I was on the bus headed to work when you called me. I could barely hear what my friend was trying to say during our conversation. Maybe I just could have told him, hey, I'll call you back. But there was too much background noise to really understand what he was trying to say or tell for any signs of danger in his voice. I stayed on the phone with him because I wanted to be a supportive friend after he told me his fiance had cheated on him. Maybe if I was to hear him, like to really hear him, what he was trying to say, I could have possibly caught an ideation. I felt so guilty because that was our last ever conversation. I kept wondering if I could have done something to help him. So after he had passed away, it was the first job I had really, you know how you work at a job someplace and you don't want people knowing your business and like not even if you're married or you got kids or whatever, you're just trying to do your work and get out of there. That was the first job I had, like, listen, I got all this going on. Like I'm fighting for my kids for custody. Like my friend literally, I remember it was like a Wednesday, like a Facebook Messenger, it was like a mutual friend that was living with us. He was like, hey, Ernest was his name. Like Ernest, one of his guns, apparently I didn't even know he had like a gun collection. One of his guns is missing and he's like somewhere like, what the heck you talking about? And just keep me posted. By the time following morning came, through Messenger, like he had shot himself. I was like, okay, did he die? Because you can't shoot yourself and not die, then find out he passed away. And that summer, I left the job I had, so that was job 2, into job 3, moved back to the Bronx. What's up, High Ridge? And never thought I would be living back with my parents again. And a few days later, I was able to grant residential custody, so the kids were living with me. I remember just some gangster parenting. Literally went to family court in Newark, New Jersey. Judge was like, the kids can live with you. So I literally ran out of the courthouse, took the bus, ran to go pick up my son from school, went to go get my daughter, and ran to New York to register my son for elementary kindergarten school without saying nothing. I was like, yeah, we going, we out. I tell you, and by that time my son was 5, literally starting kindergarten, my daughter was 2.5. Now they're 14 years, my son is 14 years old, my daughter is 11. My son actually created the theme song for my podcast that you can hear every Friday, both on audio and on YouTube. It's a shameless plug. So by the time 2016 came around, dealing with the anxiety because Erica's health was deteriorating. Continued drinking and then became drugs on top of that. And I knew even she knew her time was coming up. It just didn't know a matter of time when her time was coming. So of course, I got a call July 18th, 2016. It was a Monday. Her brother had called me hysterical. I was like, oh snap, this is the call. She's in the hospital. Doctors gave her 24, 48 hours to live. I was like, what? So literally the next day, it was a Tuesday, I left work, ran to New Jersey to go visit her. Literally, she's in an ICU. I'm like, pero how? I'm like, in my head, like, y'all couldn't call me to let me know she's in the ICU. Like, what was in my head? And then literally the next day, I got the call that her dad called and let me know that she passed. And I was at work. This was before COVID. I was able to had a hybrid work model, able to take my kids to work if I needed to. So literally that day, since it was the summertime, I took my son to work, and that day I got the call that Erica passed. I was like, my worst nightmare was coming true. Because Eli at the time was definitely a mama's boy. It was like, I got something to tell you. Let's go to the bathroom. So literally face to face in the bathroom, looking at him like, your mom passed away. And I thought he was gonna be all hysterical and bawling and crying, and I had to leave work early. He's like stone faced, took it like a champ. I was like, yeah, bro, maybe he's just like, no, I don't know what was going on. All the social work stuff was coming out in me and coming observing him and watching him his reaction in hours, days, and he was nothing. And I was making all these phone calls and WhatsApping people and Snapchatting people, letting people know that Erica had passed away. So that whole week was just nothing but crazy. I still worked the next day, worked from home, making funeral arrangements. The next day was our big office get together about our agency, what the agency is doing. I was really looking forward to it because we get to actually have fun and socialize with our coworkers and stuff like that. And then literally Erica used to make these pigs in a blanket, and they had that as an appetizer. Man, I went to the bathroom so bad, because I literally lost it. I was really, this is say God had a sense of humor. It's we gonna test you at work while you working, while you getting paid, and let's see what you do. And literally, it's I lost. The only thing that saved me was, no joke, there was a poster board like this, or one of my coworkers, and he He was bald, so he kind of looked like Mr. Clean. I literally stared at him for like 2 hours. That picture, that was literally the only thing that saved me from bawling in front of everybody. True story. So that's you gotta read the rest of the chapter. But long long story short, after 3 months, after the 3 month anniversary of Erica's passing, completely out the blue, I meet a fly Puerto Rican girl from Queens, from Jackson Heights, literally walking distance from one of the jobs I had in 2014. And 7 months ago, we got married. And my daughter says, she's the best stepmom ever, quote unquote. So shout out to Denise, thank you for sharing space with me and all the craziness together.
Hey, before we continue on this week's episode, I got to talk about my brand new sponsor, the Social Work Brands podcast has a real sponsor, and I'm so excited. It's Herd Technologies Incorporated. And listen up, if you work in private practice, this is definitely for you. Herd is the financial back office for mental health professionals. On average, they save therapists more than 60 hours per year in financial record keeping and $5,000 in taxes. We're in tax season, folks, so pay attention. If you're in private practice, a social worker in private practice, they'll take care of all your accounting needs, including bookkeeping, taxes, and payroll. They'll support your business throughout the year to make sure that you get maximum deductions. Now, who wouldn't want maximum deductions on their tax return? I highly recommend them if you're looking to get help for your finances. Check out joinher.com for more information. This is a game changer. This is tax season here in America. So joinher.com for more information.
I mean, it's about, for me, it's about healing. Like, I know when COVID happened, obviously it affected Black and brown people the most. Me growing up in Highbridge for a while when COVID happened was the top section of the Bronx with the highest cases. And I'm like, why is that? Like, why Highbridge in particular? And sharing those narratives and sharing our stories, and even like weeks coming into the conference, like picking back in my head, like how many actual like Latino men have like I interactive in the field, and it's like I could literally count like on one hand, and I've been in the field for 21 years, so it's like we have to tell our stories. And, I work with the HIV population now and newly diagnosed, and it's like. My first question was like, I'm sorry you're going through this. How do you feel? You have this new diagnosis. What is that like for you? And because I can't relate, please tell me, educate me about what exactly that you feel. How can I help you? I mean, educating them is like, it's not like how Magic Johnson happened in 1992. Like, we could start you on a regimen, and you could live a long, healthy life. Nobody will know your status. You take these medications, there's these different medications for you. Now you have to like use condoms with your partner or your husband, and you can live a long, healthy life. Having those conversations. It's just being real, having honest conversations with people. And even when I was in grad school, and still in 2009, and me having that shame of coming up to one of my professors who wasn't a director of substance use, I'd be like, instead of saying my wife, like I have like my cousin or something having this addiction problem, and way you can help me. I then he kind of knew what the deal was, so because he knew I was married. So it's kind of like let go of that shame, let go of all your processes, and kind of be having these real and honest conversations that we need to have. I was working as a school social worker in the state of Delaware. Several schools have a Spanish immersion program. So I don't know the ins and outs of how these kids get picked for the Spanish immersion. We talk about African Americans, white kids learning Spanish, but you know, the basics. Good morning, buenos dias, and I would see them and say, I know they're a Spanish immersion child, and I would say buenos dias, just to have them practice every day and say good morning, como estás, you know, and have those type of small talk conversations with them so that they could pick up the language quicker. And I will wear a Puerto Rico hoodie that I own and walk to school, walk in the hallways. In my work now that I do work on the HIV because the office is so freaking cold, I'm gonna wear a hoodie not to get sick, but just those places. I will listen to Alex station on the radio from my phone and have the bachata playing while I'm doing my progress notes and treatment plans, whatever I gotta do in terms of paperwork. So I will be jamming, listening to my music and playing and just be authentic. I love my music. I'm just being myself. And even with the job I had now, I'm making the most money I ever had in the social work school. They hired me because of me knowing the Spanish language and working in the community where most of the clients do speak Spanish are immigrants that are coming into the country undocumented. So they needed somebody to speak Spanish who are newly HIV diagnosed and coming in and provide those type of support, that type of education about HIV, and just having somebody who's just finished blessing the stage here in the Latinx social work here in Dallas. I'm holding the book. If you didn't get the book, you need to get the book. Thank you, Dallas, for your hospitality. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.